Hey, how you doing today? I am Taquila Coleman. In today's video, we're going to talk about three signs God didn't send your God ordained prodigal spouse back. Okay, so you have to know what are the signs to look for when your God ordained prodigal spouse comes back, in order to know whether God sent them back or maybe they came back on their own. So the first sign you want to begin to look for is, do you see any counterfeits in the picture? Okay, if counterfeits are still in the picture when your God ordained prodigal spouse comes back, that is a clear sign and indicator that God didn't send your prodigal spouse back, okay? Which also means for you to send them back, okay? Because God would never put his chosen one, his believing spouse, in a position to now compete for the very thing that God has given to you, okay? Remember, with Hagar and Sarah and Abraham, Hagar was counterfeit. Okay, she birthed Ishmael, right? The counterfeit promise. Okay, and Hagar was also sent away once Sarah gave birth to the promised child, which is Isaac. Okay, so when God sends your God ordained prodigal spouse back, okay, all counterfeits will be out of the picture. Okay, your prodigal spouse will come back. They will no longer be in a prodigal state of mind, but they will come back identifying you as husband or wife, and they will come back ready for marriage. Okay, so if there's any counterfeit still present in the picture, that is a sign that God didn't release this individual to come back. They came back on their own. Maybe they come back to check in, to say, I'm sorry, whatever the case may be. But also know that God would never put his believing spouse in a position to now compete for the very thing that God has given to you. Okay. The second sign, for you to know that God didn't send your God ordained prodigal spouse back, is if when your spouse comes back, if they don't know their purpose, if they do know their purpose, but they're not in their purpose, these are clear indicators that's letting you know God didn't release your spouse to come back to you, because purpose, when it pertains to your God ordained future husband, purpose gives the future husband vision. It also gives clarity, okay, to your God ordained prodigal spouse. Because one of the reasons why prodigals are mixed up with counterfeits is because for some of them, they believe the counterfeit is their God ordained. But when purpose is revealed to your prodigal spouse, now your spouse has clarity, on who is their God ordained, right? When purpose is revealed to your prodigal spouse, they see the vision, they understand the assignment, they also know, I'm with the wrong individual. I'm supposed to be over here. Okay. So if your prodigal spouse has come back and they don't know their purpose, if they know their purpose, but they're not in purpose, God didn't release them yet. Okay. You have to wait for your God ordained prodigal spouse to get the vision from the Lord. Don't you tell them the vision if you know what it is, but allow God to reveal the vision to your prodigal spouse. And also, after God revealed the vision to your prodigal spouse, when God revealed their purpose, you got to allow God now to move your spouse into purpose, okay, for development, okay, because when God sends your spouse back, they're going to already come back ready, equipped, okay? Because when the two of you come together in marriage, that's not the time for you to get ready. No, when the two of you come together in marriage, you're going to already be in the promised land, and the promised land requires for you to already know what your purpose is. The promised land also requires for you to be ready to perform, to know, how to move in prayer, to know how to serve the people, right? So God has to not only reveal purpose to your spouse, but also move them into purpose so that growth and development can take place within your spouse. Okay. The third sign for you to know that God didn't send your spouse back is that they still in a prodigal state of being. Now, prodigal simply means this individual was once serving God, but now they have turned away from God and they are now serving the devil. So if your prodigal spouse comes back and they are still, in that prodigal lifestyle, they still hanging around prodigal, friends and connections. They still, if they operating in the kingdom of darkness, if They doing things that move God to anger. These are clear signs that God didn't release your spouse. Maybe God corrected your spouse, but he didn't release your spouse to come back. Okay. If they still in a prodigal state of mind, which is a reprobate mind, again, God would never send, okay, a prodigal to go and be with the God ordained. Scripture say, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. That is referring to believers who, unbelievers who are operating in darkness. Okay. So if you're prodigal, if they don't know God, they still behaving in hateful ways, if they still a witch or a warlock, God didn't send this prodigal spouse back. Okay. When God sends your spouse back, they're coming back correct. They're coming back in right standing with the Lord. They're coming back with a loving heart. They're coming back with commitment on, okay, in the heart. They're coming back knowing you are their God ordained husband or wife. Okay. So understand and know the signs of what you need to look for when your God ordained prodigal spouse comes back. Know when God is sending them back and when they have come back on their own. Okay. So with that, I am Taquila Coleman. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a positive comment. I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care.